name is Brady Brewster. I'm the morning and noon weather forecaster at CBS 4 in El Paso, Texas. Please skip to 149 for full weather forecast and 457 for reporter packages.
We're ready to go. Let's do it.
Good morning, NBC Montana. Brady Brewster here. Clearly, I am very bundled up. I'm going to make this Facebook Live very fast because it is so cold across western Montana today. You can probably hear and definitely see the wind in this area, so it is very breezy. And with it being open burning season, it's extremely easy for those fires to get out of hand. But right around lunchtime, we start to see those gusts into that 20, even 30 mile per hour range around 3 to 4 o'clock right now. Does look to be the windiest part of our day. Hills we're expecting over the next few days are the coldest that we've seen so far this week. That's why we've issued Thursday, Friday, and for some spots even through the weekend as weather alert days. Really couldn't ask for warmer temperatures. If you're going to go out to a water park, this weekend is going to be the day for it. Loose snowpack down underneath all that fresh new snow that we're seeing, plus all that wind. That's really going to make for some dangerous conditions in this blue highlighted spot here. But most of us will see those stellar or star-shaped plates and those hollow columns. That's what happens when those temperatures are below zero. In some spots, this bridge is warmer than 112 degrees. And like I said, the air temperature is a lot cooler out here today than what we saw a few days ago with those temperatures in the 90s. Our bodies like to stay near about 98 degrees. So when those temperatures do rise, that's when sweat comes out of our skin.
Nailed it!
Thank you. All right. And to clarify, it is spring break for a lot of folks, so you might get a little bit confused when we get into this forecast because it is going to be a little bit of a taste of winter. Right now we have some clouds moving into the borderland. Our temperatures in some spots still pretty mild, but a few showers already starting to pop up here and there. That's why we've issued today as a weather warn for those showers, maybe a few flurries, but even colder air moving into the region. And that's what we're already starting to see here. This system started, over to our west and north a bit, starting to finally circle down around Las Cruces into El Paso. So a few sprinkles moving in within the next few hours. In the mountains, we are looking at the threat for that mountain snow as well. So we'll go ahead and time this out with our future cast here. Like I said, already slowly starting to see these showers move in. We are looking at the threat for a little bit of a mix of rain and snow in the Las Cruces and El Paso areas. That'll be within that 8 o'clock hour. Slowly starting to see these transitioning to a little bit more of that rain snow mix through about 9. This is going to mix or move pretty quickly, I should say. So we are going to see even some sun into the afternoon, but after about that noon hour, we will start to see this system move out of the way. In the mountains, if you are taking a weekend trip, want to get started early, keep in mind the Sacramento mountains could see a few inches of snowfall today through about that lunchtime hour. Giving you a look at those temperatures, only in the 50s today. Good news is we'll be in the 60s by tomorrow, even some 70s by Sunday. But hey, we're looking at 80s into next week. I'll let you know when we could see it coming up in my 7-day forecast. Hey, happy Wednesday. Like we said earlier, halfway through that work week, but we're not quite done with those gusty winds just yet. Live look right now across the borderland. What you can't quite see yet is a little bit of cloud cover that we're holding on to, keeping our temperatures in the 60s and 70s this morning. So we are off to a milder start. If you need to get out, hit the pavement this morning, get a little exercise in. We will be dealing with those clouds a little bit early on, getting rid of those for the second half of the day. But like I said, that's going to keep us pretty mild throughout those morning hours, back into those 80s by lunchtime, settling in those upper 80s as daytime highs. But of course, once again, winds are going to be the bigger story. Those are going to start to become a little breezier. We'll start to see those gusting into the teens, nearing that 20 mile per hour mark just after about 12 o'clock today, continuing to get a little stronger between 4 and about 7 or 8 o'clock. Today we are looking to see a little bit more of that patchy blowing dust across the region, calming down overnight before we finally get a slight break from those winds into your Thursday and Friday. Today, though, we do have a fire weather warning in effect. It encompasses us all across the borderland, noon to 7, which is when I talked about those stronger winds moving in. Gusts today up to about 35 miles per hour. So today, as far as wind gusts go, maybe your bin's knocked over, but we do have our eye on some really strong winds that are going to happen as we head into next week. So start to get prepared. Now, we are going to see those winds calm down, but temperatures cranking up. When will we see the warmest temperatures maybe so far this season? I'll have a closer look at that coming up in my 7-day forecast. 25 acres and 4
100,000 trees covered in snowballs, but not the kind you're thinking of.
That's 120 to 125 days from bloom to harvest.
He's talking about those snowball-looking blooms, currently at their peak at Swanson's Mountain View Orchard. By September, these blooms will be apples.
You look at the bloom we have today, and of all the blossoms out here, we only need about 10% of those blossoms to form apples to have a nice crop.
Owner Charlie Swanson says a nice crop is 400 to 450 bins of apples. Each weighs 800 pounds each. Mountain View is Montana's largest apple supplier.
Probably 75 to 80% of the apples stay here in mostly western Montana.
But before these blooms become apples, the weaker ones are snipped by workers to get a higher quality harvest come fall. In addition to the manual labor, a few unsuspecting employees are also doing more low-key work. If you listen carefully, you can hear the hum of the bees hard at work. And depending on who you ask, they're some of the hardest workers at the orchard, and definitely the most numerous.
They're the pollinators. The pollinators are absolutely important.
Swanson says there are 40 bee colonies throughout the orchard, and it takes 40,000 bees to pollinate just 1 acre. That's around 1.6 million bees pollinating the fall harvest. And the work doesn't stop here. After apples are harvested, they're washed, refrigerated, packed, shipped, and delivered.
That process of moving that volume of apples takes usually from September until late January or mid-February.
Swanson's run the orchard for the last 50 years. His father before him and his grandfather before him. But he says this year will likely be his last.
We have so many customers that we don't want to let them down. So we are trying to find somebody who will appreciate the business and keep it operational.
But Swanson plans to hang around to lend a helping hand. This last blooming season, a reminder for what lies ahead. In Corvallis, Brady Brewster, NBC Montana.
NBC Montana working for you. Wildfire threat.
Go!
You're looking at hour 60 of 80 hours of training for the Flathead Hotshots.
Up. Down. One. Up. Down.
The basic truth about wildland firefighting is it is just back-breaking work.
The Flathead Hotshots are just one of the 7 hotshot crews stationed in the Northern Rockies. There are right around 100 across the country, and their training is extensive.
The outsider perspective looking in would be, they're just, we're doing that just to see people go through some, hard trials and tribulations, but it's the opposite.
A hotshot crew is made up of about 20 members, but it's not about the individual. One of the most important parts of being a hotshot is the teamwork.
If we don't come together as a team, fire is such a dynamic environment that we can't function.
The crews train for 2 weeks. They spend most of the first week in the classroom.
We kind of do a little bit of everything.
Since most hotshots have prior fire experience, the majority are refresher courses. They cover everything from CPR to chainsaw certifications and fire behavior. During week 2, that's when the physical training begins.
We have a hard time recreating a wildfire on the landscape, so the best we can do is recreate the elements that are that exist on a wildfire.
Sean Borgen's been a hotshot for 25 years and the superintendent for 7. He's seen his fair share of fires. He says while the training is physically demanding, the most important skills the crews learn are communication and working together. Matt Delaney, a hotshot for 8 years, says that's what keeps him coming back.
We need each other to watch out for each other's safety.
After the training is complete, hotshot crews can be deployed all over the country. They're known as nationally shared resources, which means they can fight anything and anywhere.
We do the same thing all other firefighters do. We just tend to do it with a very, very, very high frequency.
And Borgen says without those other fighters like smoke jumpers and hell attack crews, the job would be a lot different.
We're all wildland firefighters, and there's a whole team of wildland firefighters out there. We can't just do it ourselves.
The message of teamwork extending much further than just within the Flathead Hotshots. In Hungry Horse, Brady Brewster, NBC Montana.